Hi guys, my name's Nadine. Welcome to my channel and welcome to more of my cozy mystery wish list. So I don't know if you guys saw part one of this. This will follow very much the same kind of format where I will tell you the title, the series that it's part of, the author, and read you the synopsis for books that are on my wish list. I did not realise there were so many because you just add them and add them and add them, and I don't know about you, but I tend to go down a rabbit hole. So if somebody recommends one to me and I go and look at it, I'll add that, but then there'll also be other recommended titles or titles similar to this one, and oh gosh, yeah, this list has gotten huge. But yeah, all of these will be the first in the series. There are books that I've not read. I don't know if the series is finished or not, so it might be ongoing still. But yeah, let's crack on because there are tons. So first then, the first one to share with you is Mimi Lee Gets a Clue, and this is part of the Sassy Cat mysteries. There are 3 books in the series so far, and it is by Jennifer J. Chow. So it has a gorgeous cover, and it says, Mimi Lee is in over her head. There's her new Los Angeles pet grooming shop to run, her matchmaking mother to thwart, her talking cat Marshmallow to tend to, oh, and the murder of a local breeder to solve. Now if only Mimi hadn't landed herself on top of the suspect list. Mimi Lee hoped to give Los Angeles animal lovers something to talk about with her pet grooming shop, Holly Wolf. She never imagined that the first cat she said hello to would talk back or be quite so, well, catty. Especially about those disastrous dates Mimi's mother keeps setting up. When Marshmallow exposes local breeder Russ Nolan for mistreating chihuahuas, Mimi steals some of her cat's attitude to tell Russ off. The next day the police show up at Hollywoof. Russ has been found dead and Mimi's shouting match with him has secured her top billing as the main suspect. Hoping to clear her name and save the pups Russ left behind, Mimi enlists help from her dreamy lawyer neighbour Josh. But even with Josh on board, it'll take Mimi and Marshmallow a lot of sleuthing and more than a little sass to get back to the pet grooming life and off the murder scene. So this sounds awesome. It says that it has, it's fast paced, it's light, it features Malaysian Chinese food, fun loving family. It looks like it ticks a lot of boxes. Next is Till Daph Do Us Part, and it says Have Camper Will Marry, the Daphne Jones Mysteries, book 1 of 3. So this one says 1 wedding, 2 feuding families, 3 sneaky suspects. Daphne Jones has travelled with her cute as a button camper Bluebell to the outback town of Little Bridges to officiate a wedding at a beautiful rural home. Such a perfect setting. But not so perfect people are determined to stop the union, and before the day is done, a member of the bridal party ends up face down in the swimming pool. She's no detective nor a spring chicken, but Daphne does love a puzzle and her gut tells her this was no accident. Amid old family feuds, resentful relatives and missing money, there are plenty of suspects, and none of them appreciates Daphne's snooping in their business. With a heart of gold and a way with words, this celebrant sleuth is not giving up unless the killer finds her first. And it's by Phillipa Nefri Clark, I think I forgot to say. So this sounds quite interesting. I think I've heard some people not quite loving it, but I haven't really heard that many people talking about it. It's got 4 stars on Amazon out of 240 ratings, so it seems like plenty of people like it. And I like the fact that the sleuth isn't in her 20s, which is lovely. I generally love all the sleuths that I'm reading, but it is nice to have like a little bit older representation as I get a little bit out of my 20s also. I'm slightly out of my 20s, just slightly. So yeah, that's quite nice anyway to have somebody a little bit older with perhaps their life together a little bit more, you would think. And the setting sounds awesome, this sort of rural house, and the fact that she's a celebrant is quite interesting as well. So yeah, that sounds good. Next is Twisted Threads, And this is the first in a Mainely Needlepoint mystery series. And there are 9 books in that series, and it's by Lea Wait. So this one says, returning to the quaint coastal town of Harbour Haven, Maine, a place she once called home, Angie Curtis finds her memories aren't all quite pleasant ones. After leaving a decade ago, Angie has been called back to Harbour Haven by her grandmother Charlotte, who raised her following her mother's disappearance when she was a child. Her mother has been found, and now the question of her whereabouts has sadly become the mystery of her murder. The bright spot in Angie's homecoming is reuniting with Charlotte, who has started her own needlepointing business with a group called Mainely Needlepointers. But when a shady business associate of the Stitchers dies suddenly under suspicious circumstances, Charlotte and Angie become suspects. As Angie starts to weave together clues, she discovers that this new murder may have ties to her own mother's cold case. So, I haven't heard anything about this series, but it looks like it's a really popular one. It's got nearly 1,500 ratings and it's at like 4.3 stars. So it seems like everybody else has heard of this series. But I like the setting. There's sort of a coastal town in Maine, which always looks very picturesque. I have unfortunately never been able to visit Maine, or in fact the States, which is very sad. But yeah, I love the appeal of that. And crafting is always cool in these stories. So next is 6 Sweets Under, a true Confections mystery, and that is by Sarah Fox, and there are currently 2 books in this series. So this one is about former actress Becca Ransom. Becca Ransom lived her dream in Hollywood for 7 years before returning to her hometown of Larch Haven, known as the Venice of North America. The Vermont town has canals instead of roads, gondolas instead of cars, and charming cottages plucked from the pages of a fairy tale. It's also where Becca is pursuing her newest passion as a chocolatier at True Confections, the chocolate shop owned by her grandparents Lolly and Pops. While Becca's testing new flavours and reconnecting with old friends, the town is gearing up for the annual gondola races, popular with both residents and tourists. With one exception. Local curmudgeon Archie Smith wants nothing more than to keep tourists away from Larch Haven. He's determined to derail this year's event and does his best to stir up trouble for the organisers, including Becca's grandfather. Following a heated argument with Pops, Archie is found floating face down in the canal, and Pops finds himself in hot water as one of the top suspects. Becca's determined to clear her grandfather's name, but when the case heats up, she could be facing a sticky end. So the title is fun, the cover looks cute. I'm not sure if this is a bit sweet for me, pun kind of intended, with Lolly and Pops and being chocolatiers, and yeah, I don't know. Let me know if you have read this one, if it is worth my time. It's on my wish list. I will probably check it out at some point, but yeah, that is that one. Next is a Jane Austen mystery series. And if you're looking for it, it's Jaine for Jane, by Laura Levine. And the first book in the series is called This Pen for Hire, and there are 20 books currently. So, this one says, smarmy personal ads, daring declarations of love. Freelance writer Jane Austen has penned them all. But no one needs her help more than geeky, gawky Howard Murdoch. His request is simple enough. A letter proclaiming his undying love for Stacey Lawrence, a gorgeous aerobics instructor. The fact he's never actually met the woman gives Jane pause, yet she soon overcomes her misgivings and the unlikely Romeo lands a date. But his triumph is short-lived. On Valentine's Day, Howard finds Stacey bludgeoned to death with a thigh master and is quickly named the prime suspect. Jane is shocked. Sure, Howard's awkward and eccentric, but a murderer? That's hard to believe, especially after a little sleuthing reveals a plethora of people who harboured less than loving feelings towards the svelte Stacey. Now Jane had better wrangle her clues quickly before a crafty killer catches on and puts a whole new spin on her ghostwriting career. I've heard really, really good things about this series, so I'm quite looking forward to actually getting to it. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. And I love books that feature like writers or books about books, so that looks ideal. And speaking of books about books, I've got a few of those coming up now as well. So the next one I want to tell you about is Books Can Be Deceiving, and this is a library lovers mystery series by Jenn McKinlay. So this says, Lindsay is getting into her groove as the director of the Briar Creek Public Library when a New York editor visits town, creating quite a buzz. Lindsay's friend Beth wants to sell the editor her children's book, but Beth's boyfriend, a famous author, gets in the way. When they go to confront him, he's found murdered, and Beth is the prime suspect. Lindsay has to act fast before they throw the book at the wrong person. So yeah, that sounds like that could be a lot of fun. Again, I love books about books, so the fact that it's like, you know, a library setting and, you know, she's the director of this library, that's quite cool. So next is Buried in a Good Book. This is a By the Book Mysteries. There are 3 books in this series so far, and it's by Tamara Berry. So this one I think is supposed to be quite funny, and it won the Lillian Jackson Braun Memorial Prize. And I think for quite a few of us, Lillian Jackson Braun was kind of like the gateway drug into cosy mysteries. She was for me with her Cat Who series. So hopefully that's a good sign for this series for me. So this one says, best-selling thriller writer Tess Harrow is almost at the end of her rope when she arrives with her teenage daughter at her grandfather's rustic cabin in the woods. She hopes this will be a time for them to heal and bond after Tessa's recent divorce, but they've barely made it through the door when an explosion shakes the cabin. Suddenly it's raining fish guts, and is that a human arm? Tess was hardly convincing Gertie that a summer without Wi-Fi and running water would be an adventure. Now she's thrust into a murder investigation. Neighbours are saying they've spotted Bigfoot in the woods near her cabin, and the local sheriff is the spitting image of her character, Detective Gabriel Gonzalez, something he's less than thrilled about. With so much more than her daughter's summer plans at stake, it's up to Tess to solve the case before anyone else gets hurt. So, yes, I'm hoping that one is going to be good. Like I said, Lillian Jackson Braun Memorial Prize. It's supposed to be quite funny. The cover is very bright and eye-catching, like a rural setting. It's got all the things. Next is Colour Me Murder, which is a pen and ink mystery. And there are 4 books in this series so far by Krista Davis. I've read other mysteries by Krista Davis and I enjoy her writing, so hopefully I enjoy this one too. So this one says, by day, Florrie Fox manages Colour Me Read bookstore in Georgetown, Washington DC. By night she creates her own intricately detailed colouring books for adults, filling the pages with objects that catch her eye. There's plenty of inspiration in her new apartment, a beautiful carriage house belonging to Florrie's boss, Professor John Maxwell. He offers the property to Florrie rent-free with one condition. She must move in immediately to prevent his covetous sister and nephew from trying to claim it. When the professor's nephew, Delbert, arrives, he proves just as sketchy as Florrie feared, but the following morning Delbert has vanished. It's not until she visits the 3rd floor of the store that Florrie makes a tragic discovery. There's a trapdoor in the landing and a dead Delbert inside. The esteemed Professor Maxwell is an obvious suspect, but Florrie is certain the case isn't so black and white. Other colourful characters are on the scene, all with a motive for murder. With the killer drawing close, Florrie will need to think outside the lines before death makes his mark again. So yeah, that could be quite cool. Good fun. Next then is Meet Your Baker, a Bakeshop mystery by Ellie Alexander. There are 20 books in this series, so if it's good, there is plenty to get stuck into. And it says, welcome to Tort, a friendly small-town family bake shop where the treats are so good that sometimes it's criminal. After graduating from culinary school, Juliet Capshaw returns to her quaint hometown of Ashland, Oregon to heal a broken heart and help her mum at the family bakery. The Oregon Shakespeare Festival is bringing in lots of tourists looking for some crumpets to go with their heroic cutlets. But when one of Tort's customers turns up dead, there's much ado about murder. So, Yes, that could be fun. It says that the victim is a modern day Lady Macbeth to tie into this Shakespeare festival. Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying that one out. And then finally, there is one that's got a little bit of a supernatural twist to it. And that is The Ghost of Mrs. McClure. And this is the Haunted Bookshop mystery series. There are 9 books in this series currently, and it is by Alice Kimberly. So it says young widow Penelope Thornton McClure and her old aunt Sadie are making ends meet by managing a mystery bookshop, a quaint Rhode Island landmark rumoured to be haunted. Pen may not believe in ghosts, but she does believe in good publicity, like nabbing Timothy Brennan for a book signing. But soon after the best-selling thriller writer reveals a secret about the store's link to a 1940s murder, he keels over dead, and right in the middle of the store's new community event space. Who gives Mrs. McClure the first clue that it was murder? The bookstore's full-time ghost, a PI murdered on the very spot more than 50 years ago. Is he a figment of Pen's overactive imagination, or is it the oddly likeable fedora-wearing spectre the only hope Pen has to solve the crime? You can bet your everlasting life on it. It says it's part cosy, part hard-boiled detective novel with traces of supernatural. So that sounds like that's ticking quite a few boxes. It is difficult to get here in physical form, so it might have to be a Kindle job for me. But let me know if you've read it, if it is worth reading. I haven't heard many people talk about it. But yeah, those are another 10 books on my wish list. New series to start. I hope that you found something in here that you find interesting and that you might want to go check out yourselves. Do let me know if you do check any of these books out and what you think of them. And if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and let's have a chat in the comments. Thank you very much for watching today, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!